Hey guys, it's Victoria, and I'm going to do the Raising My Child tag. And this tag was created by Jen from Jen and Zoe and Elise Cherie. And I will link both of their channels below. I watch Jen and Zoe regularly, and this is the first time I've ever watched any of Elise's videos, so it's always nice to be introduced to new channels. So I will put them below, and I'll put the questions below. And they tagged a whole bunch of people to do this video, and I thought it was really fun. So it's about, it's 10 questions, and it's questions that apply to raising children where you live. So the creator, well, Jen, lives in Queensland, Australia, so the other side of the world from where I live. I am on the Atlantic coast of Canada. So if you're familiar with Canada, my province, New Brunswick, shares a border with Quebec and Nova Scotia, and then we share a bridge to Prince Edward Island. And if you're familiar with the US, if you go to the northeast corner of the United States where you see the state of Maine, we are northeast of Maine. So we can be to the States in about an hour to cross the border. And yeah, so that's where we live. So I'll just get started, I guess. Number one, what types of play learning activities does your child love at home? So similar to what Jen said, we don't stay home a lot. We are out doing activities a few times a week at least. We go to a regular weekly play group, and we often go to preschool skating during the week and play dates, and we're over at my parents' house 2 or 3 times a week usually. But recently, where I am over 37 weeks pregnant, we have been staying put a little bit more just because it's easier than lugging everybody out, especially if it's something that the kids don't. They're often just happy to stay at home. It's usually we usually go out of the house for me. So when we're home, we do a lot of games. Noah got a bunch of board games for Christmas, so we play those. Oh, I should say, in case you don't know, I have 2 children. Noah will be 5 in March, and Alexandria is almost 2.5, and I am expecting baby number 3 any day now. So yeah, Noah got a bunch of board games for Christmas, so we'll play those. We don't do a whole lot of like arts and crafts just because he's not really that into it. I love doing that stuff, but it's not really his thing. So occasionally we'll do some things like that, and like Play-Doh, and they love to help me bake, so we do a lot of that. Your regular, Noah's really into action figures and like play sets, especially the Imaginext brand. So we've got a bunch of those, so they'll play with those. Right now, Noah is really, really into imaginative play, which is so fun to watch. Right now, they're downstairs and they took all the kitchen chairs and they set them all up, and then they get blankets and they make a big house, and he always has some big elaborate scheme as to what they're doing, and half the time I don't even know what's going on. And Alexandria, she just follows right along, does anything that he does. We also play a lot of mini sticks, which is like hockey with the mini hockey sticks. And lately more like we'll throw a football around, or we'll play baseball, and we do a lot of it indoors right now because it is the middle of the winter, so if it's too cold to go outside. In our basement, we have a small inflatable bouncy castle that we'll go down and go on that in the winter. In the summer, we put it outside. In the summer, we play outdoors all the time. But in the winter, especially being pregnant, we're not out quite so much. So yeah, that's basically some of the activities that we do when we're at home. Number 2, what time do you put your kids to bed and get them up? Does it have to do with the time the sun rises or sets in your area? So where I'm a stay-at-home mom, we don't usually have anywhere to be super early in the morning, so my kids go to bed probably a little bit later than a lot of kids do. Although lately we have been trying to get them to bed a little bit earlier. So anywhere between 7:30 and 8, I guess, is when we will start. We do baths anywhere between like 6:30 and 7, and then we'll do a book. We'll watch some cartoons and have a snack, and then we'll do a book. And I actually started just in the last month putting the kids to bed at the same time. We were doing Alexandria and then Noah, but I found that was making Noah's bedtime too late because she still naps. So if she gets up at 3:30, she's not ready to go to bed at 7. So we would keep her up until it was a good time for her to go to bed, and then Noah would be up even later. And where he doesn't nap, he was ready to go to bed earlier. So one night Matthew was out, and I said, I'm just going to put them to bed at the same time. And it worked really well, actually. Noah came in, tucked Alexandria in, and then got in bed. Now, he has always been more of our challenging sleeper, so oftentimes he's in bed and he'll play for a while, and then we hear him come in our room and he wants a drink, or he wants, he's that going through that sort of phase right now. But generally they are both in bed around 8 or so. Now, sometimes Noah will be up a little bit later. Matthew often will indulge him when the Toronto Maple Leafs are playing and let him stay up and watch a little bit of that. But again, where we don't have anywhere to be most mornings, it's not really a big deal if they're up a little bit late. And we don't really change it with the season. In the summer, it doesn't get dark here till like 9:30, 10. Like some nights it's like in the middle of the summer, it's bright, really late. But we've got dark curtains on the kids' rooms, and it's never really been that big of an issue. They do probably tend to sleep a little bit later in the winter, but generally they're up pretty much the same time year round. Number 3, did you have your children in a public or private hospital, and were you happy with the service? I had both kids in a public hospital. In our province, as far as I know, that is your only option. We do not have midwives in New Brunswick. There's no legislation in place for midwifery in our province, which I think is really sad and something that we really need to embrace and get on board with. And I know there are organizations that are working towards that goal, but at this point there are no midwives. So your only choice really is to have a hospital birth. And as far as I know, again, there are no, at least not in my city, no birthing centers. It's hospital. So in our city, we have one hospital, and that's where I delivered both of my babies, and we'll be delivering this one. As far as being happy with their service, yes and no. The hospital is very outdated, and the amenities are very outdated as far as like just the sizes of the rooms. We were very lucky both times to get a private room, but you're not guaranteed that. And most insurance doesn't cover private rooms, so we did have to pay to cover the difference between the semi-private, which is 2 to a room, and the private room. But in my opinion, it was worth every penny. But just things like the furniture, the beds, the TVs, there's no Wi-Fi. It's just really outdated. And we are very short. I think they're short-staffed. So things like the cleanliness, I noticed was a bit of an issue, which you never want to think about your hospital. But the staff in general were wonderful, and I know that they have a lot of services that they provide, so I think they put a lot of their money into that. Like they have a wonderful mother-baby clinic and breastfeeding clinic and things like that. So I think that's where the money's going rather than maybe necessarily the structure of the building. Although I was frustrated because they just put, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of dollars into completely renovating the lobby of the hospital. And I'm like, come on, this does not impact patient experience at all. Maybe we could get like some paint on the walls and some updated furniture and stuff like that. But that's the way it is right now. And also, like Jen said, everything baby related is covered by our provincial Medicare program. So I don't pay for any ultrasounds, any doctor's appointments, anything at the hospital other than upgrading to a private room and the television. You have to pay for that. But everything else is completely covered by the provincial Medicare program. So that's pretty wonderful. So I guess we can't complain too much, because I know sometimes I watch birth stories from people who live in the States and their rooms are like hotel suites, but I know that comes at a cost. So I guess I shouldn't complain. Number 4, what are mums groups, play groups like in your area? Example, friendliness, cost, accessibility. So in my city, and we're not a huge city, there are a lot of programs and a lot of free programs. We had a Y membership for the YMCA for a couple of years, and then once Alexandria got a little bit older, it just became a little bit too expensive, but we did a lot through that. We have a weekly play group that we go to at a church. There's anywhere from 20 to probably 50 families that come and go throughout the morning, and we go to that, and they have like free snacks and coffee and juice, and it's always been really, really welcoming. I made some good friends through that. We have a resource center here that has a lot of free programs, like music programs. There's a lot of mom and tot swimming you can go to. There is preschool skating you can go to, things like that. So there's a lot of options. You could probably be out of the house every day doing something, and most of it is free or very affordable. I know to go swimming, I think it's like $5 for the mom, and then the kids go for free. So it's really affordable. Is the cost of living a factor in how many kids you and your partner want to have? It's not really. I'm a believer that if you truly want to have children, then there are sacrifices you can make to afford that. And it's all a matter of lifestyle. Like when people often say, oh, we can't afford to have any more, I always feel like they need a disclaimer that says we can't afford to have any more and maintain the lifestyle that we want. And that's totally fine. But if you truly wanted more kids more than anything, there's ways to make it work. Or, we only have 3 bedrooms, or we only have 2 bedrooms, or the kids don't care about that stuff. But we probably will be done after 3, but it's not really because of finances. Although now that the kids are a little bit older, Noah's in hockey, and that's very expensive. We put Alexandria in gymnastics in the fall, and that was expensive. So the costs definitely do start to add up, but it's definitely not the deciding factor for us, because we feel that if another child is what we wanted, that we could make it work. And we're not rich by any means. I'm a stay-at-home mom, and my husband's an engineer, so he does all right, but we have to make sacrifices to be able to, for me to stay home and to be able to offer the kids the things that they need. So we make sacrifices on our end. Number 6, what are council parks / play areas like where you live? Clean, fun, safe. So we have a ton of parks. There are, in our neighborhood, there's a beautiful park with a wading pool and a great play structure that's a really good size for both of our kids at their ages right now. And then within a 5-minute driving distance, I could probably be at 2 or 3 other parks. And there's some that are better for older kids, some that are better for younger kids. And this summer, we discovered a couple parks we'd never been to before. Just outside of our city, there is a couple of splash pads in like a neighboring town that we go to. They're like 5 minutes away. And they're always really clean and generally safe if you go to ones that are appropriate for your children's age. So we do a lot of trips to the park in the summer. And in the winter, there are outdoor skating rinks and there's sliding hills and things like that. So there's lots to be doing in our neighborhood. And my computer is going to sleep. Okay. Is it easy to find childcare or babysitting in your area? No, I stay at home, so I've never had to find daycare. And I do know it's very challenging for the first year. Most parents here, we get a year paid for maternity leave or parental leave. So most parents go back to work when their child is a year. And I know between 1 and 2, it's hard to find daycare places, especially in like bigger centers. So a lot of parents put their kids on the waiting list before they're even born. I know there's a lot more private and like in-home daycare centers that people use. And I know when the children get older, it becomes a little bit easier because there's more spaces. And as far as babysitting, like we have a neighbor of ours has a 16-year-old daughter who comes and babysits sometimes and things like that. So it's easy to find occasional babysitting like that, I think. And I think the kids are coming. Number 8, what is the average cost of childcare prior to school age? And I really don't know because we don't use it. Now, Noah is in a 2 half-day-a-week preschool program, and we pay $144 a month for that. So it's 2 half days, so he goes for 6 hours a week, and it's $144 a month. So that seems reasonable to me, but I don't know what full-time daycare costs. I know it's expensive. Number 8, what is the average cost? Oh, I did that one. Number 9, will you send your children to a public or private school and why? We will send our kids to public school. There's only one private school in our city, and it's fairly small. I don't really know a lot about it. but private school is not really a big thing around here. There's no like religious-based schools. There's no Catholic school. There is a French school, but you have to have one parent, has to be Francophone to go there, and we're not, so we will send our kids to public school. That's where we went. My parents taught in the public school system their entire careers, so I have no issues with that. We live pretty close to the school that our kids will start out at. Unfortunately, they do have to take a bus, which scares me, putting little Noah on a bus, but I know he'll make it fun, and there's tons of kids in our neighborhood and on our street that he will go with. And number 10, what is the best part of about being a mom in the area you live in? Well, the best part for me is that this is where I grew up. It's where my husband grew up. Our parents are here, so we have lots of family help. There is tons to do. The neighborhood we live in does tons of kids. It's getting loud. Tons of kids, so there's always a playmate for them, which is wonderful. It's a very safe community feeling where we live. There's lots of amenities and opportunities and things to get out and do. So anyone who's raising kids around where I live, I encourage to get out and do whatever you can with the kids. So yeah, I don't expect us to be leaving our neighborhood anytime soon. We actually just built a house here about 2 years ago, so we will be here for the long haul, I think. So I better go see what those two are up to out there. And so thanks to Jen and Elise for creating this tag. I thought it was really fun. Hopefully it wasn't too long. So if you guys want to go ahead and do this tag, that would be great. So thanks for watching. I'll talk to you in my next video.